All right, welcome back live on Tuesday. It's at 1. Yeah, Springboard is messing with all of us. Some of us have come back from spring break and we're still trying to get oriented here. But I hope you guys are all having an amazing Tuesday and hopefully you got a break. And if not, you have a break coming at some point. But how are we doing? And remember, one of my favorite things on these lives is just to get to know you and know where you're from and what you're up to. So if you feel like it, share with me as I start to run my mouth here for the next few sessions. Now remember, these lives are really about you. They're not, I do talk about what's on my mind and what's caught my attention, but they really are about you and the questions that you might have as you're navigating your wellness journey, being a mom, being a businesswoman, and so much more. And we'll tackle it all. I had an interesting finding. I don't want to share too much about it, but I've run my practices for about 14 years, never intended to be a businesswoman or entrepreneur. I didn't realize that that was within my DNA or any of that stuff. But it's been a really rewarding journey. It's been a joyful journey, but there are moments that have been disturbing because people sometimes let you down. And so every now and then I am reminded of that. And I think that I am challenged to either rise up to the occasion and take the high road when we know that someone hasn't been fair and forthright, or and resist the impulse to be petty and to do things that we know are not very nice. So had a little bit of that going on in my head yesterday. And of course, I'm choosing the higher road and not worrying about folks that try to imitate us and do what we're doing and, lie to our face at the same time. But the reason I'm even bringing this up is because my children were talking to me and they were telling me how they want to run their own business. And I'm like, well, that's great, but realize that there's a lot of risk and a lot of reward. And sometimes people let you down. And so I brought them the classic example yesterday of like, I've worked really hard, we built a great company, but sometimes people let you down. So you have to have the emotional resilience and the ability to navigate that. And hopefully, as moms, so here's the mom journey of this now, as moms, we are teaching our children that this is how you build resilience. You don't let something knock you down completely. You don't let one little thing really divert you from the journey that you are supposed to be on, and you learn to block out too much noise that's surrounding you. All right, so that's my philosophical lesson for the day, but let's get into some other stuff. How many of you watched the Oscars? So I wasn't able to watch it because we were flying back from our spring break trip. And I did catch a few clips in the morning, but the one that really, really stuck out was like, yay, Michelle Yeoh winning an Oscar at 60. Oh my gosh, talk about age being just a number. I mean, that woman has been acting for a really long time, and to see her finally get the recognition she deserved was incredible. And I can continue to watch that clip over and over again, that no matter where you are in your journey, no matter what age you are, how old you are, how young you are, and by the way, Malala was there too, right? And remember, she came to fame at 14, 15. So no matter where you are, you never know what your message is for the universe and what you're supposed to be saying. But here are a couple of other things that struck me about Oscar, not meaning to have a Hollywood conversation today, but Christina Applegate came, and she's got MS. And one of the things that I was so proud of her about was owning the disease and owning the fact that sometimes these illnesses are going to change how we function in the world, what we look like, and so much more. But she was there. MS, remember, is an autoimmune disease, and it's a disease of inflammation, one that we see often in practice at Center Spring MD and have to dig into to really help people get to the root cause. So any autoimmune disease, remember, is a three-hit theory, and I keep talking about this over and over again. I talk about the triangle theory of autoimmune diseases, where it can be three different things causing the expression of that disease. So first of all, it can be you're super stressed. Secondly, you've had a hormone change. Third, you may have the genetics for it. But all of it coalescing together is what triggers the expression of that disease. Now, who can guess what one of the biggest triggers are for many autoimmune diseases today? And since you're not in my class, I'll go ahead and say, but basically, it's toxicity. whether it's mold or Lyme or so many of these different chemicals that are out there, like organophosphates and things like that. They are triggering autoimmune diseases. They're acting as that third lever, so to speak, and triggering an autoimmune disease and causing issues for our patients. So understanding your toxic load continues to be important as well, and we continue to see more and more autoimmunity and expressions of autoimmune disease within the practice. Now, speaking of autoimmune disease, and while I'm still in Hollywood, at least in my head, what about the Selena Haley drama going on, right? Apparently, they made fun of her appearance, is my understanding. I might have the thing wrong. I got all this from my daughter, by the way, who's 15, and she's convinced that they're on the road to divorce there, Haley and Justin Bieber, and she talks about it like every single day. The only reason it caught my interest was because essentially it's centering around Selena's appearance, right? It's centering around the fact that she's had to go on steroids for her autoimmune disease, and we know that she's got lupus. And steroids, oftentimes patients have to go on when they're in a flare of their particular autoimmune illness. So apparently she got lupus, or she has lupus. She had to go on steroids. Steroids make you gain weight. It gives you that puffy face, that moon face. And there was some back and forth commentary about that. Now, I'm not going to take a side. I know what side my daughter's on. She's Team Selena all the way. But, making fun of somebody's appearance is never cool, right? You never know what's going on with them. Look at Christina Applegate as well, right? Really trying to bring herself to a place where she's feeling good enough to show up at the Oscars. Do you know how hard that is? And do you know what a mental game that is? All I have is a ruptured Achilles and trying to recover from that surgery and finally getting a little bit more mobility, but I have an endpoint, right? I know that in the next 2 to 3 weeks, my boot's going to be off. I got a pass today to get out there and exercise more and be a little bit more active. But somebody with a long-standing disease, like a lupus or like a MS, like they don't necessarily have that endpoint in mind. And the mind games it plays with you and how it can make you feel internally is a really, really big deal. And so we shouldn't really be making fun of anyone's appearance because we don't really know what they might be going through, and we don't know how many treatments they've already worked their way through, and where they might be landing in that conversation. I see a question about preventing autoimmune diseases. You can absolutely prevent them by, number one, having a healthy gut. We feel like that is the fundamental place where the majority of inflammation begins. So an anti-inflammatory diet, right? So making sure you're gluten-free, dairy-free, really minimizing sugar. Those are the fundamentals. Really thinking about your gut lining. Are you absorbing the foods you're eating? Are you breaking them down effectively? Is that really doing what it's supposed to do? And things like glutamine, for example, and collagen help to rebuild that intestinal lining and are helpful in keeping that gut where it needs to be. Following a cleaner diet, we know that the packaged and processed foods and things like that all sort of impact inflammation and can contribute to your inflammatory load. So that, if you ask me the one place to begin to prevent autoimmune disease, I would say start with your gut, really work on your diet, and really see if just doing some of those type of things makes a difference in how you feel, but more importantly, brings inflammatory loads down. Now, we don't need to wait to be at the point of getting a diagnosis like Selena Gomez or like Christina Applegate. We don't need to wait that long to be having a conversation around inflammation, but even checking inflammation levels. This is a simple test, you guys. You can do this, with your doctors. It gets covered by insurance, but checking like something called an ESR, which is a separate, and understanding what a homocysteine level looks like, understanding where your CRPs are. These are all things that you can monitor maybe every 4 to 6 months even, or at least once a year, no matter how old you are. I mean, I'm even talking our teenagers and our kids. I feel like everyone needs to understand where they are in this conversation around inflammation and tracking that over the years to understand where you're in a good spot and where you may not be in such a great spot. And really using that data as a sign of, hey, like I need to get a little bit more serious about my diet or what I'm putting into my body because I might be prone to inflammation and autoimmunity. I think especially if you have the genetics in your family, For example, there's a long family history of autoimmunity, and that could be lupus, it could be Hashimoto's thyroiditis, it could be PCOS, it can be, there's so many, Sjogren's, Crohn's disease, inflammatory bowel disease. There's so many autoimmune diseases out there. And I feel like there are even more that, anyway, we'll get to your questions in just a second. I think you guys probably want me to put those lab acronyms in there. We'll do that in just a minute, I promise. But there's so many more autoimmune diseases that are still not getting a label. So, for example, I think that chronic Lyme is an autoimmune disease. Chronic mold is an autoimmune disease. There's PANDAS, right? Pediatric autoimmune neuroencephalitis. That is an autoimmune disease. There are just so many nowadays, and even if you don't have a diagnosis, does not mean you're not in the autoimmune world or a part of this inflammatory process that so many people are experiencing today. So if we want to stay ahead of the curve, your gut health becomes really important. I think if you want to take it up a step, understanding your toxic load becomes really important. And then we know that certain supplements really make a difference. So glutamine, for example, collagen really changes things. Fish oil and curcumin, some of my favorites for helping with autoimmunity. These are all things you can bring into the picture to really help make a difference in your risk for inflammation. Diabetes, yes, is an autoimmune disease as well. All of these things are really contributing to how we feel, and they're beginning way before they're diagnosed. Like they're literally beginning probably a solid 10 years before they ever get an official diagnosis. All right. So anyhow, lots of information there. I don't know where I went. I went from Michelle Yeoh to Selena Gomez to lupus to all over the place there. But hopefully that information is helpful, and would love to know what's on your mind as well. Now we've got a lot of exciting things going on in my world. I did turn in, I think, the final draft of my book, The Hormone Shift, which is coming out in the fall. We probably have a few more minor things to do with it, but super excited to share that with everybody once it's out there. So that's exciting. I think the most recent excitement were these two guys, my shampoo and conditioner. So Lush Locks, remember, is my supplement for hair loss. Now this is the shampoo and conditioner that I am so proud of. It's doing a couple of different things. It's taken me years to get this formula right, but it's balancing the scalp microbiome. Remember, your scalp has a microbiome, right? It's moisturizing hair as well with a lot of the different herbs and ingredients in it. And in addition to that, it is nourishing the hair follicle. So the follicle, remember, is really what determines the density and thickness of our hair. And with stress, diet issues, toxicity, all these different things, we are literally going to lose hair because the follicle shrinks, hair gets brittle, doesn't get blood flow there, and next thing you know, we've got all kinds of patchy areas. I guess this is such a passion project because this is something I went through personally. I lost hair, as I've told many of you guys, at 28, and it is such a damage to your self-esteem. Again, my story was that I had PCOS, which went undiagnosed for years, but hair loss really impacts how you feel. And thankfully, I was able to put the pieces of my own health back together, and most of my hair came back. It's still not in its original glory, but definitely better than having, this patchy areas everywhere. But huge believer that hair is a vital sign. We've got to understand what's happening with our hair and really pay attention to it, because as it shifts and changes, then we know that there's something going on with your health. So this is a shampoo and conditioner, but you got to work on hair from the inside out. But we finally have products to help too that definitely, hopefully, will make a difference. You can get this on the East West Way site, so it's theeastwestway.com. You can also go to my page, and there are links in my Instagram bio. TikTok as well. Go to drtaz.com/shop and you can purchase it there as well. So a couple of different places for you to get it. Okay, so excited about that. And then one more big exciting thing. How many of you are part of my circle? Definitely join my Superwoman Circle. This month in particular, we're breaking down, we just did a webinar on all things weight loss and hair loss. Yes, they are connected when you apply the East-West philosophy to them, because in the East-West Way, or when you use East-West medicine and you can identify the dosha and the meridian that's off, then you can also help with a strategic plan for both weight loss and hair loss. All right, I see some comments coming up. We'll go to questions and comments next. So if you have comments and questions, type them out for me. And remember, let me know where you guys all are. I love seeing how this community is coming together. But I'm seeing some different comments there about hair loss. We've seen a lot of hair loss post-COVID. Anyone have that particular issue? So whether it's post the virus or post the vaccine, we have seen hair loss because of that. I actually developed, and I can't find it anymore, but there was a very clear round spot right through here after I got, I think it was the vaccine. I don't think I've officially had COVID that I know of, but a very clear round spot, which is an autoimmune manifestation of hair loss versus the more general thinning that happens when your part widens, which is more hormonally based, more of an androgenetic component of hair loss. So again, lots of different reasons for hair loss. We dove into some of those today on my webinar. It's still not too late. You can join the Superwoman Circle, follow the links, and remember that we do private coaching once a month and we do the webinars once a month, and we're going to have some new versions of the circle that we're launching in April that we are super excited about. The next coaching session will be in a week or two, where people bring their questions in and we kind of examine what they're doing. We analyze their weight loss types. We'll be talking about hair as well this month and helping to put a strategic plan together while we all learn from one another. So I hope to see you there as well. All right, let's stop for a second. We'll take some questions. How are we doing here? What did I miss? I've tried to catch a few as they pop up, but I probably missed some, but we'll go from there. Sorry.
So Greg was, when you were talking about all the hormone testing that people can offer, I can't seem to copy this to get it to my doctor.
Okay, so we're going to try to type it out for you too, but CRP, this is C-reactive protein, homocysteine, HOMOCYSTEINE, and then acetarate, the acronym is ESR, but it's also known as acetarate. So those are some initial screens you can do. You can also ask for an ANA panel, and then you can go deeper and look at a C4A and a TGF beta. So those are all different ways to see where your body is with inflammation. Now here's an even simpler one. Let's say your doctor says, no, we're not going to do that. Then everyone does a CBC, right? Everyone's had a CBC at their routine physical or at the doctor's office, I think. Well, if you're doing your CBCs and that WBC, that white count, is low, then we know that there's a level of chronic inflammation in your body. So in particular, if that WBC is under 3, then we know that you might be having an issue there.
Awesome. And then Billy just wanted to let you know you are the best doctor in the world today. Every podcast or broadcast is a total educational experience.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Lots of excitement about the book and about the shampoo conditioner. Where can we buy the shampoo and conditioner? You said the eastwestway.com.
Yeah, we can put it in the comments too, the eastwestway.com, or you can go to my site, drtaz.com/shop. Have you guys checked out the site recently, by the way? Who's been following me? Hopefully you've checked out my website. If you go to the shop, we've got some wellness boxes on there now. We've got a lot going on. I'm super excited by everything we have going on. I feel like I'm talking too much about it. But we have wellness boxes on there now, one for energy, one for hair loss, and one for energy, one more just bringing into beauty, right? So with some of my favorite beauty products, along with the shampoo and conditioner. And then we've got one for hormones. So check those out as well. A great way. I'm always trying to find how we can enter this conversation, right? What's the best place from which to enter the conversation? Some people need a guide. Some people need a friend. Some people need a supplement, right? Some people need beauty products. Some people like quizzes. Pretty much any way for you to enter the conversation around you getting back to you is on my website. So check it out. And there's always the option of being a patient. And you can definitely do that too. At Center Spring MD, we see patients all around the world virtually. And then, of course, we have our hubs in the Atlanta area. So lots of different ways. No excuses, right? Lots of different ways for you to jump into all these things.
And then Billy also wanted to know, I joined the podcast kind of late, but is an autoimmune deficiency a difficult diagnosis?
Is autoimmune deficiency a difficult diagnosis? I would say it depends where you enter the conversation. If you've had the disease for years and you've tried medication after medication, treatment strategy after treatment strategy, and nothing is working, it can be a difficult conversation. But instead, if you've sort of grabbed it by its horns and you have jumped into all the different things that are going to work to reduce inflammation in your body, then it doesn't become a difficult diagnosis, right? So somebody going back to Christina Applegate and Selena Gomez, right? Both of them in the news because of the Oscars and drama in general. Both of them look like they've been struggling for a while when I observed them. I would have wanted to see a more functional approach to their autoimmune diseases. Like, what's the right diet? What's going on with their gut health? Do we need to help them with their microbiome? What's happening with their hormones, their toxic load? Like, really approaching that strategy to help them minimize the number of flares that they're having with their particular disease so their quality of life goes up. So it's a very individual conversation and very much connected to where you're entering it in your journey. All right.
All right, well, we have one last thing.
Yeah.
Valma D Photo is loving the new shampoo and conditioner.
Yes, I'm so glad. I think that's Valerie, right? I think that's Valerie. She's a part of the circle, I believe. I could be wrong, but I think it's her. But yeah, I hope you guys love it. I mean, we try really hard to produce stuff that works, right? So hopefully you guys love it and are enjoying it, and we'll continue to work on more products and more things that help everyone. If you guys have ideas for me, let me know. You can DM me on any of the platforms. And I encourage you guys to join the circle. I think it's great. I need a community, right? Like, we all need a community. And I've called it the Superwoman community because so many of us are trying to do a lot of things. And even how I opened, where, you deal with people letting you down or not being honest or things like that. Like, it just takes a good girlfriend or somebody else to be like, hey, don't forget all the good stuff, right? Don't forget all the amazing things going on. Don't fixate on the negative. So just a reminder that community keeps our heads above water, keeps us seeking the high road, and really helps us when it comes to our mental health, our hormone health, our overall wellness, our relationships, and so much more. So I hope all of you have community. And if you don't, join mine. I want you guys. We definitely need to support each other. All right, we got it all. All right, thank you guys. I appreciate everybody. And we are here every Tuesday, unless I'm traveling for some reason. But we usually post and announce it. And I hope you guys all take care of yourself. Feel free to message me if there are things you want me to cover. And if not, hopefully I'll see you in the circle, or you're enjoying one of the pieces of content or products that we've created. All right, we'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.